नमस्ते, सत श्री अकाल, सवादिखाप, वड़कम, केम छो। आज हम इस शो पे फिर से आए हैं। हर टाइम आध्यात्मिक के बारे में बात करते हैं, आध्यात्मिक सिर्फ स्पिरिचुअलिटी के बारे में बात करते हैं। तो मैंने सोचा स्पिरिचुअलिटी को हम थोड़ा हट के एक अलग से शो करें। ये भी इंसानियत के नाम पे, ह्यूमैनिटी के नाम पे जो हम काम कर रहे हैं, एक बहुत अच्छा प्रयास चल रहा है पूरी दुनिया में, खास करके इंडिया में भी। हम थाईलैंड में भी ऐसे करते हैं, ऑर्गन ट्रांसप्लांट, ऑर्गन डोनेशन के बारे में। तो ये जो टॉपिक जो मुझे बहुत दिल छू गया और मुझे कांटेक्ट हुआ किसी के थ्रू। हालांकि हमारे जो अजीज़ दोस्त हैं अभिनव जी, स्पिरिचुअल सोल अभिनव जी, उन्होंने हमें रेकमेंड किया कि भाई थोड़ा हटके से कुछ लोगों के लिए बारे में बात करें, वी डू समथिंग डिफरेंट। So I got a connection with one of the fine lady. She's running this organization. Let me introduce her on a screen. Sunayana ji. नमस्ते सुनैना जी, आपका माइक्रोफोन ऑफ है।
नमस्ते।
नमस्ते, कैसे हैं आप?
मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ। यहाँ बुलाने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
वेलकम टू द शो। एंड आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो भी काम कर रही है बहुत अच्छा काम कर रही है, तो मुझे बहुत दिल थी कि भाई आपको स्क्रीन पे ले आएं और आप से रूबरू कराएं। हमारे काफ़ी इंडिया में लोग हैं, यहाँ थाईलैंड में भी लोग हैं जो सुनना चाहते हैं। दे वांट टू नो मोर अबाउट ऑर्गन डोनेशन, ऑर्गन ट्रांसप्लांट के बारे में। हमारे साथ आप एक क्या बोलते हैं, एक he's a sports person who has done the हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट। तो एक जीता जागता शख्स यहाँ पर है, उनको भी एक मिनट हम स्क्रीन पे ले आते हैं। करुण नंदा जी,
नमस्कार।
नमस्कार, कैसे हैं करुण जी?
वेरी वेल, थैंक यू। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मुझे यहाँ पे बुलाने का।
जी, और हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं राजू, जो बैंकॉक से हैं, जो लायंस क्लब में ये ऑर्गन डोनेशन के बारे में काफ़ी कैंपेन चलाते रहते हैं, तो मैंने सोचा उनको भी बुलाएं स्क्रीन पे। लेट्स ब्रिंग राजू जी। नमस्ते, वेलकम टू द शो।
नमस्ते एंड स्वादिखाप।
नमस्ते।
ओके, अभी हम सुना से कुछ सुनेंगे कि आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बारे में कैसे चालू हुई, हाउ इट वर्क, हाउ इट स्टार्टेड।
Okay. So, Organ India is the project Receiving and Giving Awareness Network. It's a project which was started by the Parashar Foundation. It's a Parashar Foundation दिल्ली में है, एक NGO है। और हमारी जो चेयरपर्सन थी मिसेस कीर्ति पराशर, उनको बोला गया था 2011 में या 2012 में कि आपको हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट कराना पड़ेगा। उनको रिस्ट्रिक्टिव कार्डियोमायोपैथी थी और वो काफ़ी सालों से बीमार थी। इतनी बीमार थी कि ये नहीं कि वो चल फिर नहीं सकती थी, लेकिन लास्ट 1-2 साल वो बहुत मतलब उनकी सिचुएशन बिगड़ गई और उनको बोला गया कि आपको हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट कराना है। तो उनकी फैमिली में एक हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट हो चुका था उनकी बहन का, तो और उनका यूएस में हुआ था, लेकिन उनको मिसेस पराशर को इंडिया में कराना था। तो हम उनकी फैमिली जो है, अनिका उनकी डॉटर हैं जो अब चेयरपर्सन है, अनिका पराशर, तो उन्होंने बहुत ढूंढा दिल्ली में कि कैसे करते हैं हार्ट ट्रांसप्लांट, विच आर द हॉस्पिटल्स यू नीड टू गो टू, हु आर द डॉक्टर्स, व्हाट इज द प्रोसेस, और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट कि वो डोनर कहाँ से मिलेगा, राइट? यू नीड टू हैव अ डोनर फॉर अ हार्ट एंड इज द ऑर्गन डोनेशन हैपनिंग हियर। सो तब पता चला कि ऑर्गन डोनेशन नॉर्थ इंडिया में तो बिल्कुल ना के बराबर थी, बहुत कम थी उस वक्त। और उनको फिर पता चला कि साउथ में काफ़ी अच्छा सिस्टम है, तमिलनाडु में बहुत अच्छा सिस्टम है। तमिलनाडु वाज द फर्स्ट स्टेट जहाँ पे विच हैड काइंड ऑफ ब्रॉट ऑर्गन डोनेशन इन, एंड दे हैड स्टार्टेड मच अर्लियर, सो दे हैड अ गुड सिस्टम गोइंग। तो फिर वो चेन्नई गई, जैसे करण भी जा चुके हैं, और उन्होंने वहाँ पे रजिस्ट्री की। वहाँ पे उनको बताया गया कि ये प्रोसेस है, आपको हॉस्पिटल में जाना पड़ेगा, आपको फिर वहाँ पे रजिस्टर करना पड़ेगा, डॉक्टर बताएगा कि आपकी सर्जरी हो सकती है कि नहीं, कि आर यू स्ट्रॉन्ग इनफ फॉर द सर्जरी और नॉट। सो इनिशियली शी वाज नॉट स्ट्रॉन्ग इनफ, तो उनको 3-4 महीने उनकी वहाँ पे इलाज हुआ. So she was brought to a level where she was strong enough to do the transplant. Then she was put on a waiting list. वहाँ पे waiting list होती है हर organ की. तो हार्ट के कौन लोग हार्ट के लिए कौन वेट कर रहा है, किडनीज के लिए कौन वेट कर रहा है, लिवर के लिए एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फॉर्थ. और वो वहाँ मई में थी 2013. और उनके जाने से पहले her daughter Anika, she came to me and said that the situation is so bad in India and there's hardly any donations. There's very little awareness on organ donation. So let's, और उनका pre-existing foundation था Parashar Foundation. तो उन्होंने, so she said, I want to start something. I want to, raise awareness on organ donation. But who will do it? So I said, I'll do it. So I was working elsewhere at the time. So the next day only I went and gave my resignation and we started Organ India. I was there alone initially. And slowly फिर पता चला कि क्या problems हैं, क्या issues हैं, how can we solve them, all of that. So over the last 9 years, we have been working in that direction. In the meanwhile, Mrs. Parashar was in Chennai, वो waiting list पे थी. It was very difficult because she's not from Chennai, so she had to live there because we have to be close to the hospital. And somebody had to be with her all the time. It's difficult for the families who are, of the patient, because they have to, if they are outside of town, then somebody has to be with the patient all the time. So they had to take turns going, so somebody would go for 10 days, then somebody would go for 15 days and just be with her. तो उनको 2-3 calls आए थे, उनको 3 calls आए थे heart के लिए. First call, the family backed out, the family of the person who had died. First they said yes to organ donation, then they said, no, we don't want to do it. The second time, the heart was not a match. So she had to come back from the hospital. And the third time, there was a 50-year-old man who had died in a road accident. And his family had very, very generously agreed to donate his organs so that other lives could be saved. And she got his heart. And she was in hospital for, I think, 2.5, 3 weeks. Then she was outside in Chennai in her flat for about a week or so. And within a month, she was back in Delhi. And आप अगर उनको देखोगे, जैसे like आप करण को देख रहे हो, you will never believe that they have had any kind of a surgery. Forget about heart transplant, And my office was in her house, and every day I would see her going out, And sometimes when I felt like हम ये क्यों कर रहे हैं, कोई हमारी बात सुन नहीं रहा, then I would see her coming out, and I would be like, okay, yes, like she's alive and she's perfectly normal. She's playing, she's going with her grandchildren. She's traveling all over the world. She's eating street food. She used to love eating street food. And she would go and eat all kinds of things, chaat. And I used to tell her, please don't do it. You could get sick. She said, no. For the first time, she couldn't have salt for 3 years. So this was the first time in 3 years she could eat as much, not as much, but she could eat salt. So she really lived it up, and the family got 5 years with her. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2018. And now her daughter Anika Parashar, whose idea was to start Organ India. She is now the chairperson. So in the last, you have the PowerPoint open. So in the last 9 years, we have done a lot of work. We started from scratch, and then we built up a body of work. So we have the Organ India, which is a project name, and it's an initiative of the Parashar Foundation. And it's also supported by another foundation called the Vijaya Gujral Foundation.
आपने जो नाम चुना है, जो organ जो है, उसका जो long form है, Organ Receiving and Giving Awareness Network.
Giving Awareness Network. Yes. So
fantastic.
Yes. So we took some time to come up with the name, and we didn't want just if it was Parashar Foundation, nobody would know what we did. So we had to look for a name, and this name was actually somebody came up with it. Mrs. Tani Puri, actually from Wales. So she was there, and we were trying to think, what are we going to call it? And then she said, why don't you call it this? And we said, yes, this is perfect. So that's how Organ India came about. It came about because of a family who was, was in trouble, and they kind of realized that there is a lot of need to raise awareness on organ donation. And also to help, not only raise awareness, but the other major thing that we do is to help patients, we have a 24/7 helpline, which is working. We take a lot of calls from people who are in a similar position, who have been told कि आपको heart transplant कराना है, या आपको kidney कराना है, या आपको liver कराना है, and then they don't know what to do. And so we explained that, look, this is the process. You can go here, you can go here. We have online resources which are very helpful for patients. So we have something called the Transplant Guide on our website. So that maps out, it's a directory of all hospitals in India, along with names, numbers of all the transplant centers in India. And around the transplant center, where can you go? Where can you live? Where can, rooms for rent, houses for rent? Where are the labs near each hospital? Because if, like Karan would know, that if when you go to any hospital, you have to, know the area around it. You have to be able to go to the chemist. You have to be able to go to get your blood work done, all of that. So we've mapped out all those things specifically for patients who need that kind of help. So that initially they will have the help that Mrs. Parashar didn't have initially. She didn't know where to go, what to do. So that is taken care of with that online directory. So we have of course, we have lots of talks. We have corporate campaigns. We've done a wonderful campaign with MTV last year, with JK Masale, which is a big masala brand in Eastern India. So we keep doing corporate campaigns. We keep doing social media campaigns. We do a lot of talks. As you can see, this was on the right. It was at the Oberoi Hotel. And on the left was, another place. And then on the top left, it's students. We have a great
Right.
school program, which is supported by the Delhi government. So we do a lot of awareness. We have a conclave whose photo you have, I think just after this. Yes. So this conclave we started about 5 years ago. And all those people you see in the picture, they are all NGOs from across India. So earlier, no NGO knew the other, right? So we were all working in our own space. So we decided to bring all of them together on one platform with the government. So as you can see in the front row, there's Dr. Bhandari on the top, who was director of the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. And so we have a good constructive talk. We share stories, we share challenges. We figure out how to overcome them and what we should do in the future. So this is something that we have been doing. This is the transplant directory, which is on our website, which is organindia.org. And here you can see, you can pick your city, and then say you're from Amritsar. So you will pick Amritsar, then you will pick whatever transplant you're looking for. So if you want to need a kidney transplant, then you will pick kidney. And then on the third drop down, you will get all the hospitals in Amritsar who are doing kidney transplants, along with their numbers, their information, whatever you need. So that initial contact becomes easy for all patients. And then we have also a body donation directory. So body donation actually doesn't come under the same law in India. Organ donation and transplant comes under THOA, which is Transplantation of Human Organs and Tissues Act. Whereas body donation is governed by a completely different act. But we were getting a lot of calls from people saying that we want to, हमको देदान करना है, पूरी body donate करनी है, तो you tell us where to go. And they would call up from all parts of India. So then again, we mapped out all the centers in India, all the medical schools, which they take bodies after death for medical research, for their medical schools, so that budding doctors can have bodies to learn on. And we mapped it out again online. That's on our website. And this was launched in 2017 by Sri JP Nanda, who was at the time Minister of Health.
So देदान and अंगदान अलग अलग है. देदान and अंगदान
अलग. Right. So I mean, दोनों दान है, but legally they are different. They are governed by different laws. So, but body donation is different because देदान में आप पूरी body दे देते हो. So those so-called, like you won't have a cremation. And, they have body donation in Thailand. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Then it's amazing, because doctors really need in medical schools. You need bodies, otherwise how will doctors learn? So we created a lot of material for school children. You can see the top right is all for school kids. It's a very nice booklet. It's in Hindi and English. We created a lot of posters, notebooks, material that people will need. And if you want to go a little bit ahead. So this is one of our biggest projects. It started 2 years ago. In fact, more than 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And that was radio. So rather than going for individual sessions, which are also good, but we don't reach so many people, right? If I talk to a group of 100 people, that's still 100 people, and maybe their families if they go and talk to them. But the moment you do radio, you are instantly reaching out to lakhs and lakhs of people during every show. So somebody actually वो हमारे पास आए थे, धर्मशाला से आए थे. They have a organization called गुंजन, और उन्होंने फोन किया और बोला आप हमारे लिए रेडियो शो बना दो. तो मैंने कहा मुझे रेडियो शो बनाना नहीं आता. I used to be in television, but radio is different. He said नहीं, बहुत आसान है, आप बस रिकॉर्ड करो, फोन पे कर लो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, जिंगल बना लो और हम आपका शो इस यहाँ पे रन कर देंगे on their community radio. So that means around Dharamshala, 12 to 20 kilometers, it will air. So we started doing that. From there, we are now on All India Radio across Haryana and parts of Punjab. Our reach is almost 2 crore in a year. And people are calling into the stations, they're wanting to know, and it's really been a wonderful journey, and it's a very great way to reach people, while they're working. As you can see, this is all Dharamshala, and while they were in their house, we went around to see are people listening to it or not, and we found a shopkeeper who was listening to the show. We found another lady who was with her child, but the radio was on. So radio is a very unique way and a very effective way to reach lots and lots of people. And this is also there's an outreach program with the panchayats, as you can see at the bottom. And then, so we train the NGO staff, and then they in turn go and talk about it to the panchayats and all. Haryana has really kind of made a push into organ donation. So you can see we made a wall painting outside one of the civil hospitals in Rohtak. We put IEC material everywhere in 3-4 different districts, and the aim is that not only people become aware about organ donation, but that there's no government hospital at the moment in Haryana who's doing transplants. So the ultimate aim is to get this program going in government hospitals, so that everybody has access to.
I really like this logo. All the heart, multiple hands.
Yes. So this is in the civil hospital in Rohtak. Yeah, and so this is in Panchkula. So Haryana that way is doing a lot through the Chief Minister's Good Governance Associates, which is the Chief Minister's special program. So yes. And then this is just a couple of awards that we have got. And yes, so that's pretty much our journey. And now the next big thing is that Organ India is the team manager for the World Transplant Games. So World Transplant Games are held once every 2 years, like Paralympics and other games, and they are held in a different part of the world. And next games are in Australia, in Perth, Australia, in 2023. So we have become team managers, and now we will be leading the contingent that will go of all the athletes to the games. So these are all athletes who have been transplanted. So, for example, Karhun is our star golfer in this next games. He went in the last games as well. I'm sure he'll tell you about that. It was in Newcastle in England, and India won 7 medals.
Okay, now it's funded. You organize it, now it's funded.
So the organization, a lot of it is the family funding, because the family, everyone in the family contributes. We get CSR funds as well. We get some donations, but it's CSR funds and family funding. So ideally, it should not be family funding. I mean, that's we're trying to move away from that, so that more and more people should be part of the cause, and more companies should be, realize the importance of organ donation, and that's the funding structure at the moment.
Okay, Sunayana, thank you very much. आपने जो अपनी organization के बारे में बताया, I'll come back to you with more questions. I also have tons of questions, sir.
Probably, can I ask Sunayana ji? You said you started this about 10 years ago, and you said the setup in north of India was, it was practically nothing over there, right? So
I'm talking about the donations. Donations were very few, deceased donations.
Okay,
there were transplants happening. So transplants were happening. Because Delhi has fantastic hospitals, and so that all that was happening, but the donation rate was very less. So people who after death who would donate, they were very low, very few.
What's the rate? What would the rate be in India now?
So you calculated per million population. So it's less than 1. So that means less than 1 person in 10 lakh people, in 1 million people actually donates after death. And if you come. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm excited to bring Karhun on.
Okay, just let me get this through. Okay. You know what I was thinking, with all that our beliefs are in karma, and Sanchedi karma and Agami karma and all that. I would think we Indians would be altruistic enough to be really coming forward and pledging to donate. And
No, we do. In fact,
earlier I believe there was some stigma to it, that if you donate your eyes, next life you would be born blind, and but those things have been done away with. I mean, there have been many people who have come forward and said that is not true at all. Whoever told you that?
right.
But I'm still surprised that the rate is low, because it's would be among the lowest in the world. I mean, very close to the.
It
I think
is,
Japan is the
yes.
lowest, so it's very close to that
But
also,
our
right?
population is also huge. But if you compare it to, say, European countries like Spain, Spain is almost at 50 per million population.
Right.
So the rate is low. People do donate. There's a concept of daan is very strong and of helping people. It's just that they don't know enough about it. And it was really not in the public consciousness. So if you don't know enough about it, and organ donation in the past has had negative connotations in terms of, you hear of organ trafficking. Once in a while there's a movie made, and all that was happening prior to the act, which came in 1994. So they're scared, they're not sure, they don't know all the details, and that's pretty much most of the reason why they may say no, or they might back off. But once they explain that, okay, this is the thing and this is what you can do, you can actually help 8-9 people after you're gone, then most people are very, very keen to do it. And now in the last 9 years, things have changed quite dramatically. There's a lot of awareness. People realized, and media is also picking it up a lot now. So you keep hearing, how somebody has donated, little child has donated, and that's what kind of inspires people as well. So I think we are very, very giving, and we are very, that way the concept of daan is very much there. It's just the lack of that awareness that was missing, and I think that hopefully is now becoming more and more. COVID, of course, dealt a big blow to all kinds of efforts, because obviously the rate is so low, because even on that 1 year there were very few, much fewer donations. But I think now it's picking up, and as more and more hospitals and transplant centers also get counselors and coordinators who talk to the families, that's why things are now moving back up. So I am very confident that people are going to come out and pledge and donate.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Raju, I want to listen to Karhun.
Yes.
And he's a heart transplant recipient, and I'm very much curious to know about him and how he got the new heart. Dil ka मामला है. So let's hear from him.
जी बिल्कुल, थैंक यू। दिल का ही मामला है सर। मुझे इस नवंबर में 7 साल हो जाएंगे having received a heart transplant. So I was 42 when I got my heart attack, 43 when I got my transplant, and now I'm 49. In February, I turned 50. And 7-8 years ago, I was never going to be able to reach my 50th birthday. And here I am sitting in front of you, nice people, talking about this journey I've had. It's been brilliant. To start from the beginning, obviously, मैंने जैसे आपको बताया था कि मैं फुटबॉल खेल रहा था, फुटबॉल फील्ड में एक this is a new thing which has come up in the last 10-15 years, which is called sudden cardiac death. Mostly sports people running marathons or people in the gym are getting these sudden heart attacks, and because of their inability to reach the hospitals in time, they're not being able to revive. So the percentage of revival or survival of this ventricular tachycardia is about 4%, because only 4% people reach the hospital. Luckily for me, I was in the hospital when I flatlined, so they were able to revive me very quickly. And typically what happens is the heart is young and it's fit, so it starts pumping very hard and it goes into a ventricular tachycardia, means it goes to 300 plus beats a minute and then it completely stops. That is why it's called sudden cardiac death. But luckily I survived that. 6 months later, they said, because you had such a severe heart attack, you have to get a transplant done. And in fact, 7 साल पहले मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ कि इंडिया में I live in the heart of Delhi. I live in South Delhi. I had not heard of a heart transplant 7 years ago. Unheard of. I started looking around. You know, I was in escorts at that time. My cardiologists were in escorts. Then they started directing me. I met Sunayana, Organ India, and Kirti, and so they started directing me, and that's when I realized. And I come from a educated background, and the awareness was so low that it was, information was not on the tip of my fingers. I had to go Google, I had to call up people, and do all of that. And now, thanks to organizations like Organ India, हम अभी थाईलैंड में बैठ के लाइव ब्रॉडकास्ट कर रहे हैं, no, not so there has been so, they've done such a good job in trying to alleviate this. फिर NDTV took over a campaign to do this, and so here we are today. Now organ donation and organ awareness is, it's there. Now, just before I continue, I just wanted to make a small point with Raju and Sunayana, what in terms of the organ availability. Actually, this is what because I've been through, I can tell you this. There's a small point कि जो death post the cadaver donations होती हैं, like heart and other. Typically, a patient is on a ventilator and he's almost brain dead, right? So the patient himself or herself doesn't have the right or the ability to take the call of organ donation at that point. So it immediately falls on the next of kin to take a call on organ donation, right? Imagine, me as a patient on the bed, death's bed. My wife. I was in a coma for 7 days. My wife thought that he's gone because वो आंखें की सिर्फ whites दिख रहा था. There were 50 tubes inside me. Imagine asking my wife, okay, would you like to donate his organs? She's having a hard time to letting go of me. So this is one of the traumas why uh, the organ cadaver donation is a little bit less. And thanks to the awareness now parents and next of kin and my family, since I'm directly affected, my wife, everybody is an organ donor, and they know ki, okay, once he's going to go, he's going to save 7 8 lives. And I keep telling everybody this in all my interviews, that the biggest legacy आप अपने बच्चों या अपने फैमिली के लिए छोड़ के जा सकते हो is saving 7 lives after you die. It is not the will, it is the organs and the 7 lives that you have saved. This should be the legacy for you when you go away. Luckily, now coming back, luckily I recovered a little bit quickly. I found a heart, in 4 months of going to Chennai. Heart मिलने के बाद, I it, even though I was back home in about a month and a half, but it took me another 6 months to get out of. Literally, I was in a quarantine because the first year after any major organ transplant, the rejection rate has to be controlled. So you cannot get an infection in the first year. Getting any kind of infection in the first year drastically reduces the longevity of your organ, right? So I was literally in 2016 to 2017, I was till August, I was in a quarantine. Even only 4 or 5 people were allowed to come into the room. Wo bhi, gloves, headband, and no shoes, and all of that. So once you cross that second hurdle, then life becomes much easier. And the biggest advantage I have received is the quality of my life has improved drastically. Today I live a normal life. मैं 4-5 घंटे गोल्फ खेलता हूँ, उसके बाद 8 घंटे काम पे जाता हूँ, उसके बाद फैमिली के साथ जाता हूँ और वीकेंड्स में पार्टी करता हूँ. Alcohol भी पी लेता हूँ. At that time, I never used to drink alcohol when I had my heart attack. So the moment I came back after my coma, I told my cardiologist, I said, यार डॉक्टर साहब, ये तो मेरे से नाइंसाफी हो गई. कुछ भी नहीं किया, सिर्फ स्पोर्ट्स खेलते रहे और ये देखो ये हो गया. So now I want to, I used to like whiskeys. I said I want to start, drinking whiskey. The doctor said, it's okay. You have so at that time when I was 43.
Hello.
I think his line is frozen.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe there was a power cut.
Yeah. Let's let him reconnect again. Let him reconnect. Okay. Raju ji, you can have questions from
Yeah,
Sunayana in the meantime.
Sunana, you mentioned in your talk earlier that when you started this around 10 years ago, there were lots of problems. What problems? I mean, besides the hesitation to become a donor, were there any other problems? And I asked this specifically relating to the laws in India. And there was a active support from the government also in this matter?
The problem, one can say, obviously was lack of donors. The waiting lists are very long, still are. And now more and more people are becoming aware of organ donation and transplantation. So, they are actively going and registering themselves for a transplant. Something they may not have done many years ago. So, yes, the problem was that there weren't enough donors. And where do you find a donor, right? For kidney and a liver, the laws in India say that you can only take it from a family member or a near relative. In rare cases, you can even take it from friends, but then you have a proper set of, there's a lot of these committees that sit down, they decide whether you can become a donor or not,
So,
all of
but
that.
this is
So
mainly because of the urban myths, or whether it's real about the human trafficking in kidneys, is it?
I mean, it used to be. Of course, after the law came in, it completely outlawed any kind of organ trading. You can go to jail. You have a huge fine imposed on you if you indulge in organ trading. Any hospital found to be doing that will lose its license. After all that came, after the law came in, things became more streamlined. So living transplants are a lot. That means kidney. So somebody can donate part of their liver or one kidney. So those are happening quite a lot in India. In fact, India has one of the highest number of living transplants in the world.
Mhm.
But the deceased donation, that means donation after death, that is a challenge. And that, because Karan also mentioned, was because of one of the big concept was the concept of brain death. So,
Mm.
like even Karan said that, I was brain dead, I was almost dead. So, you're not almost dead. If you're brain dead, you are dead. You are no longer alive. And that is when the choice passes to the family. And like he said, it's very difficult at that point when the family is facing, such a huge tragedy. A lot of brain death injuries are because of, accidents, right? And who's having the accidents? It's young people, maybe people on motorcycles, people on cycles, all young people, people in cars. And so here is a family who's faced with this huge tragedy. They've lost a child, they've lost a very young husband, daughter, sister. And then without knowing about organ donation from before, then the hospital comes to you. First thing they tell you that this person is brain dead. They're like, chalo, okay, we believe the doctor. Yes. So can we see the body? If you're saying he's dead or she's dead, can you show us the body? So then the person is taken into the ICU, where because you are on a ventilator, right? You are still on artificial life support. So that is the only time organs can be donated, because your brain
Mm.
is completely dead. But because of artificial life support, because of the ventilator, the rest of the organs and are functioning, right? So
Mm.
then they go there and they see this person who the doctor is telling them is dead, and they can see the person breathing, right? So the problem starts from there. They'll say, but she's breathing. How can you tell me she's dead? Because they don't know about the concept of brain death. They don't realize that the brain is completely dead. They will never regain consciousness. They will never breathe on their own. They are dead. And they're only alive because of the ventilator that is attached to them. The moment you remove that, then all the organs will fail. So the concept of brain death is not known. So that is the first problem. The second thing is, even if they say that, okay, fine, we accept the death, then after that, the family gets counseled, there are coordinators in place. They will give them their choices, and one of the choices is to donate the organs of the deceased so that other people can uh,
Mm.
live. So then, acha, so you just want to declare him or her dead because maybe you just want the organs. Then that doubt will creep in. Then, chalo, if they say, okay, yes, we understand, we want to, they will say, who will get the organs? How do we know it's going to the needy person? So, I mean, my answer one is that if somebody needs an organ, they are needy. obviously they're dying. But yes, I mean, I understand it's a legitimate concern. Like, who is it going to? So now, of course, all states have SOTOs in place, which are state organ and tissue transplant organizations. They are the nodal agency in every state. And it's all the hospitals are connected to them. All the waiting lists in all the hospitals are with them, and they are the ultimate deciding authority on. So if they say in Fortis Hospital, if there's a death, they will inform the nodal agency, and they will say, we have a donor who's 36-year-old, who's a female, whose heart is in good condition, kidneys in good condition, and it is that agency who, after consultation and also with the hospital, will decide. Basically, the agency will decide which organ goes where. So people don't know that, right? They think that, oh, the hospital is just going to take the organ and give it to maybe, sell it off to someone. They want to know, do you sell the organs? Who is it going to? I hope it's going to a poor person. I said, so I tell them, like, if somebody is waiting for a transplant, whether they are rich or whether they are poor, they are poor, and they don't have that help. So don't think about that. It's regulated by the government, and whatever the allocation is, it's done, very fairly. So then
would
we
you
get
say,
a little passive.
yeah, would you say this mistrust of whether my relative is actually brain dead, and whether doctor is not pulling a fast one on me, basically, to put it in a way, the mistrust on the doctor, would you say that is also one of the impediments to people voluntarily becoming donors?
I didn't quite understand that. You mean the
Okay.
mistrust of
A
hospital and
mistrust of
administration?
doctors, a mistrust on the doctor, whether he's really is my patient really brain dead,
Right.
whether I don't want to be in that condition and I don't trust the doctor. Would you say that is also
Well,
a impediment?
yeah, somewhat, yes, sometimes, yes, definitely. But so that's why they need to know that this is not something that is just decided by one or two people. So when a brain death is declared in any hospital, and the law is actually a very good law. It's taken into account everything, and there are a series of tests which are written down, which 4 doctors have to do. They have to come together. They have to do those 5 tests, and all of them will sign. One of them will be the medical superintendent of the hospital. One of them will be a neurosurgeon or a neurologist. One of them will be an intensivist. And they will do all these checks, and they will all sign on the brain death certification. And then, as per the law, because I think the people who made the law, they realized that the public may not be so trusting of the whole system because it's new to them. So they have put in a provision where after 6 hours, anytime after 6 hours, you have to repeat the entire testing. So once again, the doctors will come, the same 4 doctors, and once again they will run the test to see if there's any activity at all in the brain. And when they find that this person is brain dead, then the second brain death declaration is done, and then that is the final declaration. So they need to understand that it's not just one person who's doing it, and that organ donation is something that is very common. I mean, if you were in the US, you wouldn't be mistrusting anyone, right? Because you've heard so much from. I used to hear it from the TV shows that, okay, this person is brain dead and you're calling UNOS and the transplant is done. So there it's a very common thing. So everybody knows about it. So it's just, like I said, it's a matter of awareness. Once they know that this could happen, I could be asked for donation, then when it happens, it won't be such a huge shock that it is now. And I think we are going there now. We are heading there.
You remember earlier this evening we were talking about. I had read about an internet user who gave reasons that people gave him for not donating.
Right.
And he had asked some people who are pro-life. The Roe versus Wade thing, the pro-life people who are anti-abortion and all that. And some of the reasons that they gave them was, why should I harm my body to help a stranger? Like giving a kidney, or I don't even know you, why would I help you? Or that would permanently change my body, or that's a huge commitment, or you don't have a right to ask people to go through something like this. These are the sort of hesitancies that people seem to be having, and especially people who are in the pro-life category, in the anti-abortion thing going on in the US. That's quite surprising. I see we have our special guest today. Papni, over to you.
Simran. Yeah, Simran is online. Let's hear from her. Simran.
Global Namaste, Hari Om to one and all. been so beautiful here. And
You
today,
are in Dubai.
I'm in Dubai, yeah. So I just finished IFA Awards and I'm here in Dubai. And this is, you know him very well, Dr. Vasu Shroff G Store.
Okay. Ji,
And
ji, ji.
at first, I just want to thank all of you for being here and the amazing awareness that you are creating regards organ transplant. I think it is such a beautiful humanitarian deed. So I'm truly thankful at first, Papni sir, to you and to everyone in Papni sir. I met you and I came here on Sunday because till Saturday we had the IFA Awards, and I met your entire family at an event in Dubai,
Yeah,
and that was
they
a
told me,
surprise.
yes.
That was a surprise. So I'm really delighted to be here. So I'm here doing a little bit shoot
Yeah.
for Dr. Vasu Shroff G's store,
Mm.
that's Regal Fabrics,
Mhm.
and which is the best place for me to shop the most international touch to the Indian attires. So I'm truly excited to be here. But everything that we do about or talk about or feel about spirituality, and every Tuesday that you connect us, because Tuesday कहते हैं मंगलवार का
Uh,
this experience and allowing all of us to get that little bit of that knowledge, little bit of that sight, little bit of that light that you're giving us and spreading it in the world. So I'm thankful to all of you, and I'm going to be live in the show from here as well. And thank you to all of you. And this is such a wonderful cause of organ transplant awareness and the donation that you've kept and making everyone realize that life is very short. Let's enjoy every second. Truly a pleasure meeting all my beautiful guests here. Thank you so much from the bottom
okay,
of
we
my
have
heart.
Sunayana here.
Thank
She's
you.
a
Thank you.
co-founder of this organization. Then we have Karhun Nanda. He got the heart. उसको नया दिल मिला है. जी, and
God.
then we have Raju from Bangkok. He does on this organ donation awareness. Yes. So thank you very much for coming on the show, and please stay tuned with us, and we'll continue with Sunayana ji.
I'm going to watch it and I'm going to join you
Thank you
guys
so
in the
much.
Thank
Ji.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Papni, we were interrupted. Karan had got disconnected.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
shall we continue with the story, please?
Yes.
I'm sorry for the bad connection. So, took me about 6 months to recover. I think we were there, started slowly, started with a vengeance because, after the coma, opened my eyes and I was 42, 43 and I said, मैंने अपनी जिंदगी में किया. What have I done in this life? I died and I'm back, thankfully. But what have I done? The first thought that came into me was extreme gratefulness. We tend to take life for granted, and we, at some point in our lives, we feel, even though we know we are going to die at some point, but we feel we are invincible, but we are not. We can, not wake up tomorrow morning. So whatever you want to do and, to give has to be done today and has to be done in this life, not wait for tomorrow. अब वो ऑर्गन डोनेशन की जब बात आई है, आज मैं जिंदा इसलिए हूं क्योंकि किसी ने अपनी जान दी है और मुझे एक ऑर्गन दिया. He literally gave up his life to give me life. और वो मेरे लिए वो भगवान है. मुझसे अगर कोई पूछेगा ना कि तुम भगवान में बिलीव करते हो, मैं बोलूंगा हाँ, मैंने अपने भगवान को देखा है, उसका दिल मेरे दिल में. He has literally given me life. So the ultimate sacrifice anyone can ever do for humanity is to give life to other people. Doesn't matter if you're scarred in any ways, if it's if you're going to go away, I have seen some beautiful videos where somebody is giving away a wife, a bride. The person the boy who got the father's heart gave away the bride, so that it was literally like the father giving away the bride. There are such fantastic stories we have heard. And personally, मैं आपको अगर बताऊं तो my son was 10 years old. He didn't even know what was happening, and he's 18 now. He's going to university. I am going to drop him in September. I mean, गेटिंग आउट ऑफ द बेड, हम बोलते हैं ना बहुत टेंशन है लाइफ में, मैं अगर सुबह उठ के बिस्तर से बाहर निकल जाऊं और मैं खड़ा हो जाऊं, my day is made, sir. Nothing else matters. Life stresses are there. है पैसा आज है नहीं है, खुशी है, गम है, रोना है, हंसी है, और irrelevant, आप जिंदा हो. If you're not there, then all these things are irrelevant. So anyway, so went back to life with a vengeance. Started golf 4 years ago, and today I'm one of two people who are representing India in golf in something called the World Transplant Games, like Sunayana explained. World Transplant Games is actually the badly spoken is the third cousin of the Olympics. The first is the regular Olympics, the second is the Paralympics, and the third is the World Transplant Olympics.
Okay.
Right? But so this year we were this year actually, and it goes through the entire Olympic process. Countries have to bid for it. It is every 2 years. In fact, और वो regular Olympics के एक साल के बाद होता है. And that is because immediately after the regular Olympics, you have the Paralympics, and then you have the Winter Olympics. And a lot of athletes are Paralympians, Winter Olympians, and then they are also organ recipients. So what had happened was, so in Tokyo was supposed to happen in 2020, right? It got postponed, right? So a lot of Olympians, Paralympians who were in Tokyo this year, they said, and this year we were supposed to have the World Transplant Games in the US. So US did this whole really big show, and we were all looking forward to going to the US to play, but it was cancelled because the regular Olympics got delayed, and it didn't make sense to delay the World Transplant Games by one more year. So they skipped it. So next year, April, we are going to go to Perth, and I think thanks to Sunayana and her team, we have the largest contingent this year ever representing India. Sunayana, how many people are there?
So at the moment, there are around 70 plus people who've signed up, but we expect that number will go down when we actually do the registration. So we are expected to take around 40, 45 athletes.
And what sports will you be playing?
So a lot of them are playing badminton. We are medal winners in badminton for the past 4-5 transplant games. We have somebody called Balveer, who is from Lucknow. He's a school teacher, and he on his own has gone to the last 4 transplant games, even before I was aware there was a transplant games, So he had kind of managed to raise funds and go. He's won 2 gold. He went all the way to Argentina. He's won 2 golds, I think, or 1 gold and 2 silvers. And now he's training hard. In fact, we hope to have a badminton camp this July in Delhi. And so badminton, we have a lot of players playing badminton. Also, badminton very popular in India, and we have great players internationally as well. So that is one sport. Then we have golf, of course. There are actually 3 people who are playing golf. One of whom won the gold last time. And again, golf is another sport which a lot of people play internationally. So for us to win gold and do so well is very commendable. Then we have people who are playing squash. The person who won the silver in squash this time is raring for gold, and he's really working hard. He's training like Karhun. Every time I call Karhun, he's on the golf course, and he's like, I'm training for the game. So it's amazing how they have come back from something that near death, and come back, and how they have come back, and how they are fighting and living the life, and now giving back to the country by winning medals. In the memory of all the donors, and this basically in support of those who have donated. So we have swimming, we have cycling. We have a very good triathlon athlete who's coming from Jaipur. He's a kidney recipient. We have Davies, who is also a badminton player, and he has had 2 transplants, and also I think he suffered from some type of cancer. So he overcome all that, and fit, playing badminton, waiting to represent India and win medals. So amazing stories, and
very inspiring.
We're just hoping to get good support from some corporate partners and sponsors, and because people haven't heard of it, we're having trouble raising the funds, because a lot of the recipients, as you know, transplantation is a very expensive proposition. Already a lot of money has been spent on transplant. So obviously to go all the way, especially to a country like Australia, which is far, it's expensive to go for athletes. So we are now in the process of, getting the team together. We have a management that's already there, but we need the sponsorship for athletes. So, so hopefully that will work out over the year, and we'll come back with lots of medals.
Yeah, this reminds me, one of my most regular badminton partner over here was, now that I think back, was actually a recipient of a heart transplant.
Really?
Yeah, and we used to play really competitive games.
Right. Huh.
Wow.
Badminton is a very
It's quite strenuous, yes.
It's
yes,
very, very
strenuous,
high
yes.
cardio game.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, he
Oh,
was good at it.
that's
Sunayana, I want to take you back to another topic that we were discussing earlier. Like you had mentioned that in Europe, and as a matter of fact, just last month, Switzerland also approved by referendum to a law and passed a law to presume consent as against explicit consent. Like when
correct.
you become a donor, you are pledging, right? You make a pledge that you will donate this particular organ of your body after death or whenever. But over here on death, it is presumed that you are a donor, except where you have explicitly said otherwise.
Correct.
Now, and you had said that in Europe, and Spain, of course, is a leading example of that, where the rate is quite close to 50 per million. Is it possible to have such a law in, let's say, in India or in Asia? And you're shaking your head, so tell me why not.
No, not in India. I don't know about other places in Asia, but to have that kind of a law, so what it means is called the opt-out system. Opt-out system, right? And in India, we have the opt-in. So the family is asked, family agrees, the donation happens, right? Nothing happens without the consent of the family. So there, the thinking is that your body belongs to the state, and after you die, your organs will be donated, unless in your lifetime you go and remove your name from that list. So that option is there. They're not forcing you to donate, right? The option is there that in your lifetime you go strike your name off the list. So in what essentially happens is that in one go, your donor pool is huge, because how many people are actually going to go and remove their names? Most people will say, fine, if that's the law, fine, let it be, let my organs be used. It's a law for everybody, not just for me. So your donor pool becomes huge, and that's a very good thing. Plus, I mean, that's not the only reason that Spain did well, right? Spain did well because they had put a whole system in place. In every hospital, they put a senior doctor in charge of the entire process of counseling the patients, of making sure that the surgery happened on time, all of that. So that was probably the biggest reason that in Spain that the program took off, because the government took a very good and keen interest. They set up a whole program in all the hospitals, and then of course they had this law. But even despite having this law, they still do counsel the families, and they do like to take the consent, because at the end of the day, nobody wants a situation where a family says no and the doctor says yes, we have to do it, and then you don't want that thing happening. So they do counsel them. It's not that they do it. They can, of course, if they want to, but they prefer to counsel the families and take the family along with the decision. So it won't work here at the moment, because if you have to opt out of something, you have to know what it is, right? Right now in India, you don't know what it is. A lot of people don't know what it is. So how do you expect them to go? Where will they go? Where will the lists be? How will they opt out? India is so huge. Population is a lot of the population in the rural areas where right now they don't know about organ donation. So it's not going to work right now. And forget rural areas, like Karhun said, till his problem happened, in his own circle, I didn't know much about organ donation at all. So you can't have that kind of system where people are not fully aware of their choices. Once they're aware, if we reach that level, then yes, you can do it. So maybe particular state like Tamil Nadu, where awareness is extremely high, maybe eventually they can consider doing it in that state. But the moment you say ki ye karenge, then 100 people will come and say that, oh, how can you do that? So they don't want any controversy over it. Already, the donation rate is low, and people are not aware of it. So until that awareness comes about, this is not something that's likely to or even should happen over here.
ओके, सुनैना जी, मुझे पूछना है कि
हाँ जी।
एज लिमिट क्या होती है इसमें? द डोनर he
डोनेशन
writes
के
down the
लिए
name of the, yeah,
सो
बच्चे भी कर सकते हैं और young, they have to have consent from the parents. वो तो definitely
हाँ
होगी.
हाँ, कंसेंट तो है, इट्स देयर फ्रॉम द नेक्स्ट ऑफ किन, यू हैव टू हैव द कंसेंट. A newborn child has donated. There's been a donor in Delhi who was actually chairperson of the Gangaram Hospital, Sir Gangaram Hospital, which is a huge hospital here in Delhi. He passed away, and he was declared brain dead. And they asked his daughter, and they were little, wondering whether she would say yes, and she said yes, of course. I mean, he spent his whole life helping people. The last 30 years of his life he spent building the hospital, and of course, even in his death, if he can help people and go, why not? So his organs were donated. So it's the health of the organs that's important, rather than the age of the donor. And if the organ maybe is not fit for a younger person, it may be fit for an older person. So maybe somebody over 80 will give to another person who's over 80, who matches with the organ, and who may not be on the list to get an organ, because at 88 they'll be wary of putting you on the list or whatever they might. So it doesn't matter the age. The
Is there
intention
is
should
there
be
any
there.
is there a cost, hidden costs are there that okay, for organ के लिए आपको इतना देना पड़ेगा या खाली
नहीं,
ऑपरेशन के लिए
नहीं,
देना
नहीं.
पड़ेगा, ट्रीटमेंट के
हाँ,
लिए देना
ऑपरेशन के लिए देना, ट्रीटमेंट के लिए देना पड़ेगा, which is a fixed cost, which you know from before, that this is
पड़ेगा?
what it'll cost. There's no payment for organ, not at all. It's an altruistic donation, but obviously the recipient will pay the hospital charges for whatever the transplant is.
Okay, then recipient and what donor, do you
They don't meet.
they don't know each
Not
other?
at all. Not
No,
at all.
Not
No.
at all.
Like, for example,
Uh,
Karan, I don't think you know your donor. You're not allowed to.
no. Even
Um,
over here, my mother wanted to donate many of her organs, but she was down with cancer, which had gone to her limbs also.
okay.
So at the end, the only thing that we could donate was the cornea. So, so the Red Cross came home, and they, after the police said everything is okay, so they did it. And after that, I asked them, "Can you advise us who got it? I just want to know." They said, "No, we can't tell you the name, but it's somebody in out of Bangkok area, and they are very happy with it." So it makes me happy.
Yes.
Somebody else is looking at this wonderful world through my mother's eyes. And
Okay,
Thailand,
fantastic.
I was telling you,
We have a guest from Chile, Dr. Lion Mohan. So let me bring him on a screen too. Lion Mohan, can you turn on your screen camera? Okay, as soon as he come, he will pop in. Yes, yeah. Raju, continue.
okay, I was saying in Thailand, our rate is only 4.5 DDs per million people. This was figure of 2019. And even the living donor kidney transplants are decreasing over the past 6 years. Like in 2020, only 137 kidney transplants happened as compared to 172 in 2019. Of course, this could also be due to COVID related.
COVID, yes.
But these figures are for over 6 years. They've been reducing over 6 years. And another very interesting statistic about Thailand is that more than 80% of the donors, pledged donors, are males, and less than 20% are females. Do you see any similar correlation in India, and what could be the reason for this?
So we do have a pledging platform on our website, and we did do a research on this, on who all pledged with us. So yes, there were definitely more males compared to females. Reason, maybe just to have better access to information, to the internet, and they're scrolling more, they're seeing things more. But there wasn't like a 90-10 difference like you are saying. It was maybe 60-40 kind of a thing.
That's clear.
So yeah, it's close, 60 or 70 maybe. But the thing with the living donation in India is that there are many more women who are donors than men. So that's 70% of the living donations are women. Yeah. So that's the one statistic. But otherwise, pledging wise, yes, there are more men. And even those who are scrolling through our social media, whatever, they are mostly, a lot of them are men as compared to women.
Okay. Yeah, Papni, you're mute.
All right.
Namaste to everyone.
Namaste ji. He's from Chile. He's a actor, director, producer of Hindi cinema, and he's in India now, directing one of the movies. Yes, Mohan.
Yes,
How
sir.
are you today?
I'm fine. Actually, I'm invited in the restaurant now.
Okay.
I'm listening also. Really, I'm very happy to see everyone. I listen to everyone. I hope all our viewers will get benefit and get much knowledge from all of your speech.
जी, ऑर्गन डोनेशंस के ऊपर जब हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो आप भी ये अवेयरनेस आगे फॉरवर्ड कीजिए। ऑर्गन इंडिया का है जो
जी
जी, so I know you go on many channels on this one, so please spread the awareness. You are in Lions Club also.
Sure,
जी,
sure.
जी,
You can even have a talk in any of your club. If you want to do a talk, you can do that as well.
yes, I think they Bombay. He is in I think Gujarat. अभी गुजरात में हो ना अभी?
I'm now presently in Baroda.
बड़ौदा में, okay.
Yesterday, few days I was in Mumbai. Also had some shoot for 2 films, and it was one on the old people home, and one was the last train. It was about Sindh when they were departing from there, from Sindh.
Okay.
And last week I had shooting in Ahmedabad. It was the Vardhan 2.
I request Dr. Soni
Yeah.
कुछ अवेयरनेस के लिए उस फिल्म में कुछ डाल दें, तो सुनैना जी आपको कुछ टिप्स देगी।
Definitely.
तो इन फिल्म में
That'll be nice.
एक मैसेज भी जाएगा लोगों को ऑर्गन डोनेशंस का। See if you can do it, that'll be very good.
Right now here is so much noise in the restaurant. I can't listen properly.
Okay, no problem. So I'll talk to you later. No problem. We'll continue with Sunayana and Raju.
Sure.
They were talking.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Namaste everyone.
Yeah. Ji,
No,
Raju.
as I was saying earlier, there was something called the Nicholas effect, where a 7-year-old boy was shot in Italy.
Yes.
They were from USA and they were traveling in Italy, and through a mistaken identity, there was a bullet lodged in that boy's brain, and he was declared brain dead as soon as he reached the hospital. So for 2 days, all the prime minister of Italy and the big people in Italy were regretful about why this would happen. And the father of the 2-year-old boy decided that he would take this opportunity to save at least 8 lives, as they say. One donor can save 8 lives, and he did that. And it caught on so fast that just in that last quarter of that year, donations went up by 37%. And this is called the Nicholas effect. Today, his father is 92-year-old, and he still spends his whole day trying to help people, connect them, give them information. And it's such a wonderful story. It was such a paradigm shift, caused by a 7-year-old boy who would have been 35, 36 had he been alive. It's strange that we are not more into this. Poppy, if you give me permission, I'll like to read a small poem that I had recited sometime earlier.
I know.
But I won't go through the whole thing. I'll just do a short one on that.
Please. I know. Without poetry or shairi, you don't close the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is by Kamar Jalalabadi, and it says, "Kar lunga jama दौलत और ज़र, उसके बाद क्या? ले लूंगा शानदार सा घर, उसके बाद क्या?" And then he goes on to describe in the whole poetry about if he wants to do, he'll do that, but then what? But then what? But in the end, I'd like to read these 4 lines. एक रोज मौत जीस्त का दर खटखटाएगी, बुझ जाएगा चरागे कमर, उसके बाद क्या? उठी थी खाक से मिल जाएगी वहीं, फिर उसके बाद किसको खबर, उसके बाद क्या, यू नो। ये शरीर
That's
नश्वर है,
nice. Very nice.
ये शरीर नश्वर है. I mean, it's basically either you're cremated or you're buried, and nothing is left of that. What you carry with you is your soul, and your soul, the karma that you do in this life attaches to your soul, and that most of us believe is what is important in our life. So why not create good karma?
So true.
And while you're creating good karma, like Karhun here is so grateful. He says, "My God is that person in Chennai from whom he got that." I mean, the gratitude that you feel, I mean, it's so genuine for that person. Why can't we all be those person for somebody else? Like Nicholas Green, he was a god for 8 people whose lives were saved, plus other few people who got some other organs of his body. It's touching, and the work you're doing, Sunayana and Karan, the way you're inspiring people, I say hats off to you. God bless you. Continue your work.
Thank
It's
you
wonderful.
so much. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
सुनैना जी, मैं इस चैनल के माध्यम से I pledge my full body,
Oh, wonderful.
any organ, it should be not cremated. It will be given to the any foundation, whoever. Raju, you are handling this one. So I tell my wife, my kids, do that. What I'm saying today, live in front of people. So बोलते हैं ना, जो भी करना है, ये प्रोग्राम जो मैंने किया है, आई वाज सो मच इंस्पायर्ड, आई वाज सो मच इनटू इट. तो मैंने बोला चलो ठीक है, शुरुआत दूसरों को करने से पहले मैं शुरुआत खुद की तरफ से करूं.
Wonderful.
Excellent, sir.
ये it's documented, it's recorded, so you can show to my wife, my kids that okay, he has said these words. So all right.
Thank you so much. आपने यहाँ पे बुला के अब मुझे बहुत मजा आया है. Last 1 hour, it was very
जी.
nice to speak
जी.
with you.
So once again,
Especially
I want to
Karan.
show. Yeah, जी. एक मिनट, ये जो स्लाइड शो है जो राजू he shared with me, ये थोड़ा इसके बारे में बताएंगे. What are the organ tissues to be donated? And सुनैना जी आप बताएंगे इसके ऊपर.
अच्छा. So you can donate your vital organs, which are heart, 2 lungs, pancreas, liver, kidneys, 2 kidneys, and your small intestine. ये जो यहाँ पे दिखाए हैं वो बड़ी intestine है, but inside is a small intestine, is also called the bowel, that can be donated, and liver can also be split. So actually, it's not 8; it can even be 9 if the liver is split and put into 2 different people, because liver is the only organ that regenerates. And then you have the tissues, which are non-vital organs, but they're still very, very important. So corneas means they take the corneas, only the corneas, not the eye, and they give it to 2 different people who cannot see, who are suffering from corneal blindness. And then you have heart valves. So अगर heart नहीं donate हुआ, it's okay, your valves can be donated. And वो valves ना वो बच्चों में लगाते हैं, those who have damaged hearts. So this is a very life-saving procedure. Then of course there's skin donation for people who suffer from burns, skin diseases, from acid attacks. Skin grafting is very important, and they need skin for that. You can even donate your bones for people who are suffering from problems in the bones. You can donate your ligaments. You can donate your muscles. So every part of your body, your body is like a it's like a temple. You must take care of it, and when you go, you can donate pretty much every part of it and help people after you go.
And this is yours, organ
That's
receiving
right.
and giving. That's in India.
Yeah.
In Thailand, definitely, if anybody wants to have some questions, definitely get back to me and Raju. We'll try to help you out with the help of Red Cross. And if you want to fly back to India, then you know who to contact. जी. सुनैना जी, thank you very much. आप इस शो पे आए और I don't have words. Raju have better words. हर टाइम वो अच्छे शब्द ले आता है हमेशा. तो राजू से मैं बोल रहा हूँ क्लोजिंग रिमार्क्स आपके. एंड नंदा जी, आपने जो भी आज आज मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई आपको इस शो पे आते हुए, और आपको ऐसे एथलिक जो आप बोल रहे हैं कि भाई मैं फिर से बैक इन दिस वन, मैंने बाईपास कराया, मुझे तकरीबन 1 साल कुछ लगा टू बैक इन फिर अभी भी मैं थोड़ा हिलता रहता हूँ मोस्टली. ओके, आई वर्क फ्रॉम टेबल, दैट्स मोस्ट ऑफ टाइम. जब अभी आपने बोला गोल्फ आप खेलते हैं, तो कल से मैं कुछ ना कुछ कोई डिजिटल गेम तो नहीं खेलूंगा, डेफिनेटली एक्टिव गेम खेलूंगा.
बिल्कुल.
जी. Raju ji,
Yeah.
I want to hear from you. The last closing. Ji.
Sunayana, Karan, I think I'll be very brief and precise. My hand is on my heart, and I say, thank you very much. You're doing wonderful service.
Thank you so much.
You are gaining all the karma for yourself by doing what you are doing, and God bless you with a long, happy life. And wish that you can spread what you are doing all through India to as many much people as possible. Thank
Okay,
you very much
सुनैना
for
जी,
being here.
Thank you.
आपको कुछ
Thank you,
बोलना
sir.
हो क्लोजिंग के टाइम में तो आप बोल सकते हैं.
Karan?
सुनैना जी, नहीं you.
Oh, me. Oh, thank you.
Message closing
You
remarks.
know, it was so nice. I just feel so good coming here. आपसे बात की, आपने इतना अच्छा वो poem recite की, वो मैं जाके Google करके इसका print out लूँगी और पढ़ूँगी. And it's true, you know, what are we except for the sum of what we've done? You know, even if you think about organ donation, if you say that in my lifetime, yes, I want to give, that's good enough. We are not asking you to actually give anything in your lifetime. Just the thought that you want to help people, it's fine, you know, and it's wonderful. And thank you so much. It's a very nice show and really a pleasure being here today.
Okay, Karan ji.
Thank you very much for having this show. You are doing your 2 bits to create organ awareness and donation, and you are helping us create more, pledging more with all your subscribers and the people in your club. It's an excellent job you're doing, and you, in fact, are also inspiring us in a way to
Yes.
spread our wings more. And with your help, you have inspired me to go out more and speak to more people and create more awareness. Thank you very much for this. You're doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. See you next Tuesday with a different topic.